Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Talking Tuesday. Today, I'm joined by the lovely Jan from Hartlepool Carers, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the bereavement support that is available for people in Hartlepool, and also our ex-carers project, and how we can support ex-carers going forward. Lovely to have you with me today, Jan.
Morning, Sarah. Nice to be
Morning.
here. I'm a
So
bit, I get a bit stage struck, so bear with me.
No, it's fine. So how long have you been with carers then, Jan?
Well, I was going to sort of start off by saying I started in January, 12 years ago. So
Wow.
yeah, but a very different background. Very different background. I was in advertising with Hartlepool Mail for 20 years in a couple of chunks. But then I worked with adults with learning disabilities.
Oh, brilliant.
Different. I worked with adults with learning disabilities. Job coach. So I went to work with people with learning disabilities, actually knocked on doors, if you like, and sold the idea of a company taking someone with a learning disability. So the sales techniques came into play there. But we got people into work and then went into work and learned the job with, and then faded the support gradually, and it was just amazing.
So you've got a background in helping people then?
Absolutely, in support and stuff. And then the job came up at carers, and it was actually because I did employment and training at the Mail. I did employment and training advertising, so that was working with lots of businesses. And then when I went into Employment Link, it was called, where I supported adults with learning disability. Obviously, the employment side came into that and gave me the opportunity to knock on doors. But then, of course, working in that field, supporting lots of carers of those people, it was very, double-edged. So when this job came up, it was actually doing employment support for carers, because, of course, many carers have to work as well and fit it in and juggle it in. So that fitted perfectly. So the first few years I was with carers, I did employment support and then contract support and things, and I got more and more experience. So I'm now an information guidance worker for carers. So that's the background. 12 years. During the last few, since Chris Fuster came along as well, we've looked at things differently. We've done things in such a lot of different ways, which is fantastic. The changes have been amazing. We've difficult sometimes rolling with them, but we've got some fantastic stuff going on. One of the things Chris did support and promote was us being ex-carers, because we've always supported have looked after somebody and lost somebody, and that scriptive amount of time, but we kind of them with us, but we weren't specific for them. That those people would join in the groups that we already have, like coffee mornings and all that kind of thing. But one of the Christine brought forward was that we should be able to actually register carers who are ex-carers already. So they find out what we do, because obviously the time after somebody loses somebody, and especially if they've been caring for them, maybe for many years in some cases, that hole is just it's a chasm. It's an abyss. It really is. And that's when people often need possibly more support than they did when they were caring for a person. In some cases, because life changes. One day life, the next day life's a whole different ball game. And when people have been caring a long time, sometimes lost social connections and high level caring roles, that they've lost those connections. So there they are, maybe in 50s or 60s, or even not starting again. Where do they start? So we said we would register who we come across who are ex-carers already. We're often struggling when we meet them, but we'll also make sure that we've got things going on for ex-carers when we've been supporting them for some time and the person passes away. So it's sort of a whole thought process really on what we could do. So pre-lockdown, two very different stories. So life before lockdown, COVID. We had I sort of got earmarked because I think one of my oldest friends, my oldest, dearest friend, was the bereavement for North Tees and Hartlepool NHS Trust. She worked at North Tees, and she sadly passed away now. But she gave me lots of sort of information and guidance on what happens when somebody passes away. Things like the support services, like benefit support and things, because those things are all practicalities, but they're there nonetheless. And all the processes, when someone passes away. So I had all that information, and I would pass it out to our team when someone passed away, and we were supporting a carer. So I think I sort of became the natural choice, if you know what I mean. And it's absolutely fine. It's fine because I've met some lovely, lovely people because of it. But yeah, so we started to engage ex-carers that we already knew on board as brand new, and we set up a group and when we could go inside. But we set up a group called Life After Care was our type of project at the time. It was only last year, so this is how things changed so quickly. It had only just got started at the back end of the year before last. So we kind of hit January last year with some great ideas, bringing ex-carers together, getting those maybe even friendships and connections going, because like I say, some people had already been pretty nice carers when the person's passed away. My goodness, where are they now? They're lost in that. So we put together a group of nice people that were starting to grow, getting together on, I think it was a Monday morning, and getting together in the centre and having guest speakers coming along and having a chat with the group and WhatsApp what they've got access to. We also had the services of a bereavement support person who at the time was based in our office, Jo Morton Lake, and if somebody was really needing that kind of support, we were able to actually physically link that person up with Jo because she was in the building, so she's had a few in the phone and stuff, which went on to counselling for some people that needed it. Outside of that, the rest of it was a friendship group, lovely, and it was growing. It was organic, but it was growing. And then suddenly, there we go. COVID came along, bam, knocked it all out of the water. So we kind of disbanded it, and then we kept in touch with people. I kept in touch with some of those people that were coming to the group. And then in summer last year, when the restrictions weren't lifted a bit, we started to meet at a cafe. We were going to the is it the St Marie?
Yeah.
Backs onto the seafront, so we could sit outside, masks on, but fresh air. And so a few of us got together at that a few times, and then another lockdown. So I've had to convince a few people, myself included, to get in, because as you can see, I'm a little bit older than 35, but so I had to be kind of kicking and screaming into Zoom and that kind of thing, which is absolutely imperative that we do that now, I believe, even though I didn't want to do it at all, or Facebook, I had to do both. But it's the way, it's the only way really for people to stay somewhat connected, So we've sort of talked a few people into having Zoom and having a go. That are ex-carers. Some really have wanted to do it, but have come along to it and are really benefiting from it. We're now meeting once a week on a Tuesday at 11. I still have to think where I'm at. On a Tuesday at 11 for that one. And the group's account called Move Forward. And I think that title sort of encapsulates, people getting to coming to terms with loss. It certainly isn't a group that talks loss a lot. However, they are feeling a bit fragile, and they're in a very safe sort of space, really, because the people who are on the Zoom meeting with us are all in the same boat. So, if there's a few tears now and again, that's absolutely fine. It's not talked about outside of the group, and the group all understand. But in general, it's a good chat and it's a bit of fun. We're just going to start to have people again guests coming into our Zoom meetings. So that's another little step forward, and a little bit back to some normality, because that's what we were doing with the group before, but obviously just different medium. The other thing that's just happened, which I'm absolutely delighted about, I've been kind of chiseling away at it, but we've now got a little spin-off group, because one of the
I love that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and you know, we, Sarah, as you know, we have to be involved in lots of different groups and things, and we're still taking stacks and stacks of registrations, and we're really full on. And doing the groups is wonderful because it gets us to see carers. You know, that's what we're here for. However, not all of them need to be run by us, because, you know, hand-holding and mummying's great. I love it all. But these are adults, you know, that can do their own stuff. And what we've done with the ex-carers group, they decided that they wanted to do a bit of a knit and natter type thing. But obviously not everybody that comes to that group is going to want to do that.
Yeah.
So I suggested, how about if one of you sets up, if we show you to set up a Zoom meeting, which by all accounts isn't difficult. I've never done it myself, but if you set up a Zoom meeting, that group could meet on their own on a different day. So they've got 2 appointments in their diary that week. Yeah. So we've got the ex-carers group, which is still moving forward. Now we've got some knitting natter 25, and they've taken on the challenge. We've got a challenge going at the moment, which you'll know about, Sarah. And by the way, thank you, Sarah, for helping and set that Zoom meeting up. That's brilliant. And that's also a huge piece of confidence for the lady who's going to be sort of the key person in that, because a year ago she was not doing any of these things. Now she's got a diary full. Telling me how full. It's great. I love it. She's got a full diary now. But so that little group decided to join in with our work with Hartlepool Carers Challenge. We've got something called it's hashtag UC25, and it's all based around young carers. Really, young carers actually spend an average of 25 hours. Whichever one of the sessions you've listened to, I'm sure you'll have heard all about this. But there's a wonderful lady who was a lottery winner, who has set up a trust, and if I'm right, it's PFC Trust.
Yeah, I always get the initials the wrong way around. PFC, that's the one. Yeah,
they're helping us to raise money. 50 grand is the target, and it's to buy a caravan, obviously a brand new caravan, so that we can respite time to young carers, particularly because we see a lot of young carers roles have massively increased. We've got nearly 300 young carers on our books, I think it is.
Got shut off massively over lockdown.
It might be over now, it might be more. And those young carers, a lot of their roles have increased because they're not at school, they're at home. So, you know, things can get pretty stressful for young carers, and, you know, we're constantly looking for kind of mental health wellbeing kind of support for young carers, because it's been tough. It has been tough for them. Being away from friends, you know, having any normality, it's been really tough. So anyway, the caravan has been something we've wanted for a long time, to give respite to young carers, and I'm guessing possibly adults as well in the future. You know, it'll probably happen. So lots of us are doing challenges to raise money. So anybody wants to raise money for that and help us to raise money towards the caravan, I believe you need to either set something up with the 25 in the title, like doing, I don't know, 25 1-hour run, or simpler things than that. Our knit and natter group decided to do, between them, knit or crochet or even embroider squares. 4 inches by 4 inches is all. Do as many as they can, because we need 625 of them to make a blanket that would completely cover a bed down to 25 squares wide by 25 squares long. So I think the deadline are like the beginning of April. So they've got a meeting for the first time on Monday. So I'm wishing them luck. I'm going to pop into the meeting and say hi and then disappear.
Yeah.
And that's them kind of, they're breaking off into a little group that has already started to become a friendship group, because some of them are messaging each other. Obviously, we can't give carers contact details to each other, but this group, through their chats, have said, "Oh, give us your number, and I'll give us your email address." So that's brilliant. That's like, for me, it's almost like when I worked in Employment Link, supporting the adults with learning disabilities to go to work, and I would go to work with them, get to learn the job and choose the trade, and then eventually I would fade that support and disappear, and the natural support took over. So what's happening here? So it's the first I hope of the clue. So Sarah, you might get drafted in again to help set some.
I've told Chris I'll be on hand.
Brilliant, but I'm hoping there might be, a couple of other groups, a spin-off, that want to do things that they can do on Zoom, with their hands, creative things, that kind of thing. That the knitters may not want to go to. It might be something different. So it's all organic, but it's taken shape. So I'm just delighted. So that's what we're doing. But in amongst all of that, obviously, over the years, we've always tried to.
John, can I just interrupt you for 2 seconds before you start on the next thing? I just want to say how lovely it is to hear you talk about it and hear someone who's so passionate about what they do.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
That's great. Thank you very much for saying that. I'm embarrassed now. Anyway, one of the things over the years, like I say, and especially since my old friend worked in bereavement support, I've learned a lot, and I've brought bits and pieces. We're one of those teams, there are 10 of us, and I've always said to carers, please, if you've got a question, if you've got a query, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's about what's happening with your electricity, it doesn't matter. Bring it, and there will always, I promise you, there will always be an answer, because there's 10 of us with God knows what backgrounds, all kinds of backgrounds, and huge experience in this and services. So if I don't know, I'll absolutely put my hands up to not knowing, but I know for a fact I can give one of my colleagues a shout, or I can put a shout out now on our message thing or email, or somebody will know, or somebody will know somebody who will know, and we'll pick the phone up to them. So, for carers, don't ever hesitate. What I say is, if it's an issue, niggle for you, then it should be a niggle for us. So let us know, and we'll find out what to do, where to go, who to talk to. So, please, carers, be rest assured that that's absolutely the case. There's very, very few things that we wouldn't be able to help you tackle. And either we do it on your behalf, or we'll certainly give you all the information you need so that you can run off and do it yourself. But in terms of the support, that's been something, obviously, because we're working with carers, and it happens that loses somebody. So over the years, we've built up a bit of a bank of knowledge, and we know who to go to. Now I'm in this role, I've pulled some of that information together, because sometimes people that are coming to our new group, our moving forward group, ask for that information. So first of all, what I would say is, obviously all of these services are working very differently, completely differently now. So I'm not absolutely sure how all of them are working. What I do know is you can contact them. So main one for bereavement support, as and when that happens, sometimes people don't need that initially. It's down the line, maybe a few months down the line. Sometimes people need it instantly, i.e. with trauma type thing. But one of the main numbers we would use would be the hospice, Hartlepool Hospice, who have a bereavement support service, and that's for children, young adults, and adults, of course. And again, very full lists, I'm guessing, but they'll always call somebody and see how urgently they need it. So that telephone number is Hartlepool 855555. We used to be able years ago to have access to an organisation called Cruise, but I've spoken to them recently, and they don't have any funding for Hartlepool, and it breaks their hearts if they can't do it. But they're funded to work with people in Middlesbrough and that area, so we haven't got that anymore. And the one that would be most sort of uppermost really in my mind, because they were working from our office before all this had happened with COVID, but they are the Baby Bereavement Support Group, Hartlepool. And that name was the name given to it when a lovely lady called Val Lake, who had been a midwife for many, many years, set up the Baby Bereavement Support Group, because obviously in her career, and she was passionate as a midwife, absolutely, but in her career, she obviously met parents who lost a baby at birth or just after or whatever. So she, bless her heart, set up an organisation called the Hartlepool Baby Bereavement Support Group, and it was a voluntary organisation. You know, she volunteered there, and they've done that for years. Val very sadly passed away a few years ago, and her daughter, Joanne Morton Lake, who had trained and done baby bereavement support because of obviously her mum's inspiration. Jo then took over the role of baby bereavement support, but of course along the way Jo's done more and more training, so Jo does bereavement support for adults now. So we actually had Jo and Christina based in our office up until COVID, until none of us could be based in our office properly, really. And so they have been continuing to do the work, but it's gone a little bit on hold. I've spoken to them, in fact, only today. And they've had some personal circumstances that have meant that they haven't been able to, run the service as it was, or to the extent it was. But said to us was, if we come across somebody who really, really needs support and help, counselling, then we can contact them. We can contact them by telephone, and they'll decide if they're in a position to be able to do something. And it doesn't mean that they would do anything depleted, because absolutely not. Jo's an amazing counsellor, and Christina does all the administrative bit and the coordinating. But Jo decided in a position to be able to do something for somebody, she will. Otherwise, she would signpost to hospice, or there are various kind of support groups that can help somebody who's suffering from bereavement or loss, which we would signpost to as well. So I think the idea with that group is that they work with adults as well, called the Baby Bereavement Support Group Hartlepool now. They've got a Facebook page, and if anyone wants to message them through the Facebook page, just click on the messenger and they can, how's that, Sarah? And they can
send a
private message to Jo and Christina, and say, what they need, where they're up to, and they will respond, absolutely. They might not be able to respond right now to say that we can do some counselling with you, but then they would obviously get back to them when they were in that position. So that's not a closed door. It's a door that's left ajar, but it is open for anybody that really, really needs help. The other thing I would always suggest, because again, there was a Hartlepool Bereavement Support Service, because of funding, etc. That went. So we haven't got that now, but there are various forms of support for mental health well-being, really, which is sometimes maybe all somebody needs. They might need bereavement counselling. They might need just someone to talk through things, get it off the chests. Often people resolve their own things when they're sat with somebody independent, not a family member, not a friend. It's too close proximity. Sometimes it's too difficult to do it with people really close, because they're often involved in it as well. Grieving as well, So we would suggest mindful talking therapy type stuff. That's 269303. There's there's Andy's Man Club, which I'm hearing nothing but fantastic reports about. Which
I think I have a very soft spot for Andy's Man Club, because they were actually set up at the football club where I used to work, and it was part of the National Citizenship Service. So that's a group of 16, 17-year-olds, and they do sort of a social project, and they actually got Andy's Man Club set up in Hartlepool. That was 3 years ago. So this group,
they are around the country, aren't they?
They are around the country, yeah. But Hartlepool, I think, was one of the first ones to be set up, and that was all due to this group of teenagers.
Yeah. Amazing. But I mean that we hear it all the time now, don't we? The likes of what you call Rio Ferdinand and people like that about men's mental health. It's massive, isn't it? And the impact on I always say, I probably get berated for this, but I always say women generally we get together and we cluck, don't we? And we get things off our chests, and it's not as easy sometimes for men to do that. And being able to join a group like that. For example, we've got a male carers group. And yes, the fact is that the majority of carers are female, but there are some incredible male carers out there. We know plenty of them, and we've got a group now on a Tuesday night, haven't we? Well, fortnightly
on a Tuesday, yeah.
They get together and they talk about wherever it's not our territory. We're not allowed in, if you like, which is good.
Yeah, I do the quiz and then I'm banished.
Then you go, don't you? Yeah. So the importance of male mental health being supported is so it's up there, right up there, and especially it's in the news now as well, because there are celebrities, aren't there, that are pushing the idea of men staying well mentally as well. So they don't have to be tough all the time. They don't have to be tough all the time. It's not a weakness, though, is it? Because
there's stags as well. I think Andy's Man Club is on Monday, and then stags, I think, is Thursday.
I'm glad you said stags. I'm going to keep a note of that, because I saw that somewhere on Facebook and then couldn't find it again. Scrolling through. But stags, what can you tell me inside? What's the difference? Tell us all. What's the difference?
I don't think there is a massive difference, to be honest. I think it's just they're both very similar in that it's sort of a group of men that get together. I know more about Andy's Man Club, I'll be honest. So Andy's Man Club, they get round and I think they pass round something, and if they want to talk, they can talk, and if they don't, they just pass it on. And there's no commitment to need to speak. You can just sit and listen. But I know a few of our male carers go to both Andy's Man Club and Stags, and they both find it really, really beneficial.
Stags is which night?
I think Stags is the Thursday.
Right. So is it 7 or something?
6 maybe. I'll find out. Yeah, and then for women, there's the Women's Wellbeing Club as well.
The one I had down was the Women's Wellbeing Club, yeah, and that's, again, I think that's another kind of national idea, but it's been set up in Hartlepool too. And again, I think some time ago you had a couple of ladies on, Sarah, on here, that came and talked about that. Lovely ladies, and I looked them up on Facebook, and again, very much about women feeling that sort of strength in the support around them, and not having to pour hearts out, but just to be able to sit and listen, just to know that it's a comfortable group. So if they decide to say something, they wouldn't feel, silly or anything. They would feel listened to, and feeling listened to is really important, isn't it? So they would be the things that I would signpost people to for that mental health wellbeing and support. Mind Andy's Man's Club, Hartlepool Women's Wellbeing Club, Haven, Sarah, you've said Stags there. But the other thing for carers out there, for you carers out there listening to us here, I think one of the probably best ways of making you feel better and feeling that you've got a little bit of time, which is what's often missing, isn't it? Is to join us on some that we're doing on here on Zoom. It's another day, but we've got to join, don't we, really? And it's just lovely seeing, we started off doing meetings on here, and oh my goodness me, I'm mortified. I'm messing about with this computer. I can use computer for I need it. Goodness, it was a nightmare.
And then we ended up for 2.5 hours yesterday on our team meeting on Zoom.
We did, yeah. And over the time, that we've been in this situation, there's been times when it's been just a relief to sort of see each other others' faces. You know, sometimes it gets to be a bit of a go on too long sometimes and all that kind of stuff. But seeing each other is great. When we have the coffee morning and things like that, it's lovely. It's lovely to hear the sound of laughter because people have a good laugh. We do the same with the Moving Forward group. We had a really good laugh this week. We had another new person joined, and that was another injection of a different vibe, and it was really good fun. And the people now are saying that they look forward to that bit of time. They're only an hour usually, thereabouts, when we do the carer groups. But that hour is a bit of time out from what you're doing, you know, from your normal routine and today's routines, which are pretty dull at times. And it's
definitely
Groundhog Day every day, but being able to get together is lovely. And my goodness, I can't wait till we can get back to being in the same space, because that's a different vibe altogether. But while we haven't got that, we've got an alternative, haven't we? So I would say to people, check your emails, because we email, and that's not my stuff, that's somebody else does all of that fantastic stuff, but we email every week, I think now, with activity information. We've got the website working well, so that people can just go on to Hartlepool Carers. It's www.hartlepoolcarers.org.uk, and the what's on activity stuff is all on there. Everything's on there about the challenge we're doing to fundraise. That's maybe just something nice for people, for you guys to get involved in. Sarah can tell you more about that. But these activities, when we get together, keep an eye on them. If you want to join, sometimes some of the things we deliver afternoon tea free to you, because you're coming onto the Zoom meeting, so you can all sit and have your afternoon teas. I think we've done art packs and all kinds of things that we've delivered.
We've got our exercise group
on a Monday. Sarah does exercise. I need to try and find some time on a Monday to somehow jump and come into that. But you know, there's lots of things here. So we want to be a source of lifting people out of, you know, where they're at the moment, even if it's just very momentary. It's keeping people going. So
I have to laugh, because at the start of this, John said to me, she said, "There's no way I'm going to be able to talk for half an hour."
And everybody who knows me probably say, "Come on."
Oh, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you, Jan, and hearing about everything that you do and what's going on. So I think what's really important to take away from this today is, obviously, don't be put off by the fact that we're called Hartlepool Carers. If you are an ex-carer, whether you were already registered with us as a carer and you sadly have to take that step away and become an ex-carer, or if you are not already registered with us and you are an ex-carer, you can still register. And you can do that over the phone by ringing the office, or you can do that on our website. There's a really simple form to just fill in, and then we can give you all that support as an ex-carer that we can offer.
Thanks for that, Sarah.
Oh, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Jan, as always.
I've enjoyed it. Funny enough, it just feels like sitting in the room, doesn't it?
It does. So thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope this has been of some use to you. And I will see you next week with another guest for Talking Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Before you go, Sarah, before we go, can I just say, if anybody wants to give me a ring about the group, the Moving Forward group, if you ring our office number 2830995, and if I'm in the office one day a week and at home 4, so all you need to do is say to Julie on reception that you want to speak to Jan, and Julie will email me, and you leave your number and I'll ring you back. I'll give you a buzz back. Okay,
brilliant. Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody, please.